Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
What if upgrading your windows and doors didn't mean tightening your budget? Scratch that. What if it meant spending nothing today? For a limited time, Renewal by Andersen is offering no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 18 months on a minimum of 6. That means beautiful, energy-efficient windows and doors while the payments wait. Visit renewalbyandersenhome.com today and see how easy it is to buy now and pay later.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. A little slow in the old sports world right now. We've hit a little bit of a lull. Part of that's LeBron James's fault. We'll get to that here in a moment. We do have the Open Championship going on, second round action underway, and we will check in with Bob Casper coming up at 8 o'clock this morning and get an update on the second round. David Locke is here at 8:30 to talk about the Summer League and his analysis of the Jazz youngsters, how he think they performed. Obviously Peterson, but also Cody Williams as well, and Ace Bailey, who we saw very little of actually, and kind of assess the top teams in the draft. And then we got the LeBron news. It was a big day for schedules yesterday. The NHL put their schedule out. We knew the Utah Mammoth are going to open on October 1st at home against the Chicago Blackhawks, and now we know that New Year's Eve game outdoors is going to be against the Colorado Avalanche. 4 o'clock start, so it should be light when it starts and get dark over the course of the game. So it'll be fairly dramatic to be playing under the lights there at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Baseball put out a schedule, and of course that was met with a lot of eye rolls because a lot of people expect that at least the start of the season will be lost. Maybe more of the season will be compromised. We'll see how much they actually get to play. And basketball has not put out the schedule yet, and it's time to put out the schedule, but it's not done yet. And as Commissioner Adam Silver said, well, I need LeBron to pick his team because that's going to impact the schedule, what games are chosen, obviously what games are chosen for Christmas Day. Personally, I think they need 5 games, 10 teams. I think you got to start with Philly playing Boston, Jaylen Brown grudge match game, and then New York and Cleveland rematch of the conference final. And if LeBron goes to Cleveland, I think that holds. If it goes to Philly, I think it holds. But if it goes to Miami, then there's going to be a game in Miami, and I could see New York playing Miami. Hey, the Pat Riley Bowl instead of Cleveland. And if he goes to Golden State, well, then the Warriors are going to play the Lakers on Christmas Day. That's pretty clear. So got to let all that shake out. LeBron's got to make his decision, and then we'll find out the Jazz schedule. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, BYU and Notre Dame, they are playing. Should they play more? I believe they should, but PK has his reservations. We'll get to that coming up. And Andy Bailey talking NBA hoops after that. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Do you want Notre Dame to regularly play BYU? Questions up on our Facebook page, and there are a lot of positive comments here. A few of them. Nick says, heck yes, when I was a kid and played video games, I usually had Boise State, Notre Dame, and then one other team as my out-of-conference opponents. Let's get home and homes with Notre Dame for a long time. But only if they're home and homes, not 3-for-1s or whatever. Nick wants to play them as long as they're coming to Provo.
Yeah, I think that you play Notre Dame on Notre Dame's terms. It's like we do the show on your terms.
Turn me into Ara Parseghian.
Remember Eric Parseghian used to do those commercials, the triple option with the option on the tailgate, the wagon, the station wagon. You can open it as is. You could lower the door. Or there was one other option, and it was like the triple option, and he related to football. I was fascinated.
I don't remember that.
With the station wagon.
We had a station wagon growing up.
I bet you did.
They've all been replaced by SUVs now, but that was the weapon of choice for families back in the day.
We had a station wagon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It folds down. It's a tailgate.
Yeah.
That's the term tailgating. This is where all this all starts. And it could open sideways. I remember that. I don't know. I don't remember a third one.
Well, you can open it with the window up or down. It had a little window to it.
Yeah.
This was the triple option. Yeah. We took a vacation to San Francisco and went through Yosemite with 8 people in a station wagon.
Did you stop in Yosemite or you just drive through it, just kind of gawk from the car?
I think they stopped. I was like 14 years old, and we did my father drove, my sister and her husband, the soccer guy, were in the front. My mother was in the back. My grandmother was in the back seat. My mother's sister, who was a nun, she was there. And then me and my cousin Luann Ripa, who's a relative of old Kelly Ripa. She was like a year younger than me. So she was across the station wagon. And so her head would have been opposite mine. Her feet would have been right to my left. My head was next to her feet, my legs going the other way. And that's how we drove from Phoenix all the way up to San Francisco.
You didn't have the pop-up seats in the back.
No.
No, we didn't either.
No,
I thought that was pretty cool when I saw the pop-up seats.
We just laid across.
Yeah, I know. I get it. My brothers and I had to do the same thing.
One night, why would you have to do the same thing? You got 6 people could sit in the front. And you only had 5 people in your family.
Yeah, but we traveled with my grandparents sometimes. Yeah. So when we did, then in the backpack.
To the beach?
In the
backpack.
Disneyland? Believe it or not, to Sedona, Arizona and the Grand Canyon.
And they wanted to save money, so we slept in the car. But I was 14, I didn't know any better. Now it'd be...
What?
Of course, they wouldn't have that now.
Right.
No seatbelts or anything. No Walkmans, no iPads, no iPods.
You had to look out the window and talk.
Yeah.
Spell words off license plates and other stupid games.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think for BYU, you have to schedule carefully. Because if this playoff goes to 24, getting hammered by the Irish is not going to be a good thing. And you don't have to take the risk. This year, take the risk.
As long as it stays at 12.
And it is at 12 this year.
So
it's
the
not
argument
going to
then,
stay at 12.
So the argument the SEC has to, because it seems like they're getting outnumbered here on the go to 24, is it's going to be Cupcake City when we go to 24. Or the alternative is go to 10 league games so they only have to schedule 2, and that's how you get your 10th tough game.
I don't think they're going to go 10 league games. You have to schedule wisely if you're BYU. You can't, let's just go Notre Dame. Yeah, that sounds great because it's Notre Dame, especially if it's like a 2-for-1. The opportunities to go back to Notre Dame and win are going to be limited. And we know, I firmly believe, the number one reason that the committee was able to use in not putting BYU in this past year is they got destroyed. They were willing to give them a second chance, and the second chance against Texas Tech was worse than the first chance.
Yeah, neither were any good, but I get your point.
Right.
So and it was a road game, obviously. I'm playing down in Texas. It wasn't truly a road game, but it was a road game.
Well, the first one obviously
was a road game. Yeah, they never got the chance to show what they could do at home.
Yeah.
So then the scheduling is, so you're suggesting that pass on BYU and then schedule, which is what most of the league is doing, is schedule either high-end G5 or low-end Power 4 teams and just pad the schedule. I think Arizona State, they're going to Texas A&M, so they took the challenge. But Kansas State's playing Washington State. Utah's obviously playing Arkansas. Colorado's playing North Carolina. That's a collection of, Virginia Tech's playing Virginia. West Virginia's playing Virginia.
You have to schedule carefully when it goes to 24.
Cincinnati took Boston College. And that's what we're going to get for big non-conference games then.
Yeah, none of those you're going to get any buzz. You're only going to get ripped if you lose. And so you have to be careful. Schedule yourself to put yourself in the position to receive an at-large bid. Now, ultimately, win the conference and you don't have to worry about it. That's the great thing about Utah going to the Rose Bowl. They just had it right in front of them, and they did it.
We're talking about a world, though, where at 24 teams, you're assuming you're going to get at least 3 teams from the league in and maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm assuming minimum 3, yes. I would certainly be surprised on the 5 end of it. 4, I'd have to see. I don't think 4. I believe in basketball, they can't ever say this because it's not the way it's supposed to be, but I do think that they allot. Okay, this conference is worthy of X amount of teams.
So in the 16-team world,
on a
or
minimum.
24-team world, 6 from the Big Ten, 6 from the SEC, that's 4 from the ACC, 4 from the Big 12. We're at 20. Notre Dame's 21. The group of 5 is 22, and there's 2 bids to go. That's why I'm thinking they'd be guaranteed 3, but they could get 4. And at that point, we'll have to see how the league shakes out. But through just a couple of years, Utah and BYU's odds of being in the top 3 or 4 in the league are pretty good.
I think so. That's why I'm saying schedule.
I mean, Utah didn't get there. They had quarterback injuries, so there were 4 teams at 7-2. We're assuming in this world that they all get it. They all get in.
The BYU or the Utah season in 25 and a 24-team playoff. In my mind, that's absolutely playoff worthy. Particularly at that time, if they would have had a couple of weeks off. And Dampier gets himself healthier. Because look what he did when he had more than a couple of weeks in the Vegas Bowl. He dominated, man. He not just played well, he dominated.
Tech, Utah, and BYU were all ranked, if you're looking at a 24-team playoff.
I would think all 3 of them would get in.
At the end of 16, they were ranked 15, 13, and 4 in the case of Texas Tech.
I don't think there's any question in my mind.
What the team that's on the bubble is Houston at 21. Right. That's the bubble team for the 4th.
And then what do they do at 24 with the conference final? Do they eliminate it at that point because they need to start things earlier? Which I'm totally fine if they do. I'm not a big conference final game.
If they got rid of those title games and just said the standings are what they are, if you back up when we Tech is still 4, BYU's 11, and Utah's 15.
And you get into it.
Yeah, nothing really changes there.
You take if they need that week to start the tournament, they start the tournament that week.
And they've definitely talked about that.
And that's fine. I'm 100% fine with that.
And that may really be the hitch with the SEC is they make so much money off their title game, and you're going to 24, and the only way to do that is take away the title game. No. Let's go to 16 and not take the title game away.
Start your season a week earlier and you can play the title game.
That has certainly been discussed.
But there's no need to play the title game. And you'll recoup the money by sending all these teams to the playoff anyway.
That's the argument.
Right. And you will.
Sounds weird to be in a world where you walk away from playing Notre Dame. You walk away from the excitement and you walk away from if Notre Dame's regularly going to be part of the conference TV package. The thing is, though, if they leverage their deal, so it's like, well, it's a home game, so it's part of Notre Dame's TV package, and it's a neutral game, then maybe the value really never gets delivered to the Big 12 TV package. And I'm a fan of where things stand right now. Like, Brett Yormark, you're selling the league. Get on the league and sell it to Notre Dame. Maybe they'll play Tech. Maybe they'll play Utah. Maybe they'll play somebody else. I mean, it's partly factored by the quality of the team, but it's partly they like to go play in different parts of the country. Well, the Big 12's a national league now. You can go play wherever.
Notre Dame can dictate its terms.
Yeah.
See, I just don't think that you get a big buzz from losing to Notre Dame because these ACC teams haven't gotten big buzzes, and they play Notre Dame regularly. And what have they gotten out of it?
The way to get the big buzz and what they do in basketball, and there are comparisons between where football is going and where basketball is only if they go less human-driven and you end up using more of a computer model.
Which that won't.
Because we're assuming that BYU is going to be we're assuming Notre Dame is going to be somewhere between pretty good and really good as long as they keep their coach. He's young and he's good, and he seems to have it going, and it doesn't look, like they're going to have a bunch of 7 and 5 seasons.
No.
They've gotten stuck in that before with other people, but
looks like that's changed.
Especially given the quality of competition on their schedule, it looks like, man, you ought to pencil them in for at least 10 and 2, which is what they did last year, and USC's going off the schedule.
So that's why it sounds good to be playing Notre Dame every year, but I just don't know if it's in your best interest. Because if you get worked, it's going to come down to, wow, look at your big games, and you got hammered. And then in this conference, if you lose a couple of close ones, which could happen will happen,
you could jeopardize your 11 or 15 ranking.
It doesn't seem to me that it's worth it.
This isn't you. This is me. You're the one ready to game the system. I'm always ready to game the system and backdoor it, and you're always like, be bold. If you're that good, you can take on the best and go for it anyway. We're switching roles here.
Well, you will have an opportunity to take
IDs.
out the best. You're not going to backdoor a playoff.
You're not going to backdoor a playoff.
And so you'll have plenty of opportunity to prove how good you are, but you've got to get there first. And we know that the system, to at least to agree, and maybe it'll be mitigated, will be stacked against you, because if it's favored toward the Big Ten and SEC, by definition, it has to be stacked against the other ones.
Well, you heard me
can't
go.
have both. You can't have one. You have to have both.
You heard me go with the assumption that there's 6 bids for them and 4 bids for you, and then there's a couple that could end up 7 for them and 4 for you.
Yeah.
If it's 8
So
and 3.
you have to be smart.
Oof.
You have to do what's in the best interest of your program, and simply saying, yeah, we're going to take on Notre Dame. Oh, we're tough. We'll put our hand in the dirt. That sounds good, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Now, the thing is, when it goes to 24, does the expectation still stay at be in the tournament? Or does the expectation
you got to get there first before you start worrying about anything else.
Or does the expectation come, you've got to host games, and you've got to win games, and you've got to be in the 16 or in the 8?
I don't know. I mean, I think that varies, but a program like BYU is going to vary year to year. A program like Ohio State, it's not going to vary year to year. There's just a limited amount of programs.
Their
variance,
you could say. Ohio State's variance is quarterfinals in a bad year, title in a good year.
And so there's a few that BYU and Utah are not on that level. But can they get to that level sometimes? Yes. Are they going to be on that level consistently? No.
So then
they haven't yet. Maybe they can.
The argument for people who want to see the game then is, hey, there will be yes years and no years. And in no year, you just take your beating, and that's the way it goes. But in a year where, you can get to the level, you get the win over the Irish, and that's what helps propel you to that level. The confidence you build doing that, the win it puts on your resume that gets you the better seeding.
Sure, but what are you going to do
home game.
20% of the time?
To be determined. I don't know. I mean, that 20% is not a bad number. That could be the guess. I mean, in the 7 games we've seen so far, 2 and 5, that's, I guess, 28% of the time. And BYU is in a better position, presumably, right? I mean, 3 of those games were in the 90s and the WAC era.
You just told me Notre Dame's in a better position, too.
Well, Notre Dame was actually in a really good position in that era for the first 3.
But they're in a better position now.
For the next 3, it was probably not that special. Holtz still had it going pretty good at that point. It
sounds good to play. Yeah, let's play Notre Dame. We're going to play them.
It always sounds good.
But I just disagree.
You worry about playing them 8 times in 10 years.
I just don't know that's in the best interest of your program. It clearly isn't in the best interest of USC's program, so somehow you think it's in the best interest of your program?
Will you get busted if it gets out, which you have to assume that it will, that you're turning down games? Then it comes, we'll see you in the Big 12.
Is USC going to get busted?
No, because they're USC, but you're not USC.
Right.
They carry cachet. And, if they're playing Oregon, Ohio State, and Michigan, they're getting games, Penn State and whoever else, they're getting games that you're not getting in the Big 12. Maybe
but they're
you get
USC, so they have a higher standard.
Maybe you get 1 or 2 big games in the Big 12.
Oh, I disagree on that. Man, you are downgrading the Big 12. You only get 1 big game in the Big 12? That's ridiculous.
They're not playing Texas Tech. They are playing Utah.
Well, we're not talking about this year. We're talking
this
generally.
Is a given year. Well, in any given year, the leagues are so big, the teams that are good, you could be missing them and they're off your schedule.
Except SC is going to play that killer schedule every year. You just said that. Now you just said these leagues are so big in any given year. But for SC, they're going to play big dogs every year. But in the Big 12, which is almost the same size, maybe it is the same size. I can't even remember.
No, it's not, but it's close enough.
Yeah, it's 16 to 18.
16 to 18, right.
But somehow in a smaller league, in any given year,
Yeah.
but SC is going to do it every year when you just said in these big leagues. You're contradicting yourself.
But the bias in the Big Ten is that USC's good, Oregon's good, Michigan's good, Ohio State's good, Indiana's good, Penn State, Washington aren't that far away. Nobody looks at the Big 12 that way. Even if it were true, they wouldn't look at it that way. It's Texas Tech.
So you have no faith in the committee.
And
it's just the way it's going to be. So why even try? I mean, because the bias is there.
Why
even try?
Because I think that Notre Dame is going to be good, and if you beat them, nobody can say anything.
Sure, then play and then schedule SC and then schedule Alabama. Because if you beat them, nobody can say anything. Why stop with just one? Go if you can beat Notre Dame, you can beat those other schools too. So why not schedule them? Go all the way, baby.
Because Alabama won't schedule you.
BYU can find big-time teams to schedule.
Until Lincoln Riley leaves, SC's not scheduling anybody.
Except they did. So
he just took
I don't know.
Notre Dame off the
you
schedule.
can decide. Apparently, you have an insight into what Lincoln Riley is thinking, but I don't. I know that I was told by BYU that their AD at SC said, we've got to get them because look at the crowd when they play up the freeway at the Rose Bowl. And so suddenly that changes? No. Money will be there. The point is BYU, and if you're going to argue that, you're going to lose. BYU can schedule big games every year. They can schedule as many big games, and there's only 3 of them. They can schedule as many big games as they want because teams want to play BYU because especially
if
when
they have seats to sell, they put butts in seats.
And it's an absolute fact. I've been on the road with them a million times.
And a lot of powerhouses don't have seats to sell, so it doesn't matter. But some powerhouses do, and SC's one of them. SC does need butts in seats.
Yeah, and so
Oregon doesn't.
I think Washington does.
I would agree with that. Washington does.
I mean, their stadium's pretty small, but Oregon's scheduled BYU.
And they also win more.
And they have an opportunity. And BYU can get as many big games as they want. So if you only have one big game in the Big 12, wow, we need to get Harlan and Santiago on and have DJ said, you're only going to play 1, maybe 2 big games. In fact, their camps are opening here in a few weeks. Let's go down and ask Scally. Let's go over to Kalani and say, because you guys should play Notre Dame, shouldn't you? Because you're only going to get 1, maybe 2 big games. That's a quote. Will you ask them that?
That is already, we don't need to ask them because it's already backed up by the selection committee.
No, will you ask them? Yes or no?
Utah was not counted as a big game by the selection committee last year when BYU won it.
Well,
they didn't get any credit for it. They got left out.
We're talking at 24. We're not talking in the past. We're talking in the future.
If it's a 4-bid league, then they can grease their schedules because it does look like they're in the top 3. You told me that's where they're going. It does look like they can stay in the top 3 or 4 in this league.
You don't have much respect for the Big 12. I think that's what I'm taking it from.
I think it's already clear the selection committee has no respect for the Big 12.
In the past, you got me there. But we're talking about the future. I look ahead. I don't look behind. And the committee, whoever's on the committee, when that thing goes to 24, they ain't going to be on it. So I have no idea what those people are going to think because I don't even know who those people are, let alone what they're going to think. I have no clue.
Well, you already think they're going to dismiss BYU because BYU is going to lose 47-10.
If they lose 47-10, I don't think that's going to be an advantage. If you view that as a controversial take, I don't know what to say. If you lose to anybody 47-10, I'm pretty sure every single person on the planet is going to view that as a negative. Yes.
When we come back, Andy Bailey, his impressions on Summer League. That's next. Stay with us.
On the under $3 menu at McDonald's, a McChicken is $2. Because when you're craving a McChicken, you deserve a McChicken. And now that McChicken is just $2 with McValue.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and we are joined now by Andy Bailey. Andy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
NBA analyst and writer for Bleacher Report. He's been on the show many times, and here we go. You have had a chance now to look at the Summer League, check out the guys. Have you changed any of thoughts? Have you further developed or sharpened any of your thoughts about Darren Peterson or any of the top players in the NBA draft?
It's always dangerous, right, to overreact
But it's
to
fun.
Summer League. It is fun. I'll give you that. I think at the risk of exciting your audience, I think Darren Peterson looks better than I thought he would. I think the shooting percentages last time I checked weren't great, but I'm not that worried about that in his first couple of Summer League games. There's like a fluidity to his game that I think is really exciting. There's a willingness to score that I think is exciting that can be dangerous with some guys. Like I think it got dangerous for Darius Acuff and some of the other high picks, but it just seems so natural to him. I actually had to write an article a few days ago predicting who the 30 best players in the league will be in 2030. And I'm pretty sure I wound up putting Peterson ahead of DeBonsa. And I still think DeBonsa is going to be really good too. All three of those guys looked awesome. And also Caleb Wilson looks awesome. And I think he's out to prove something in these Summer League games that I'm not a big guy. I'm more of a small forward. So there's been a lot of interesting stuff in Summer League. I think the one who looks the most natural to me, though, is probably Peterson.
Yeah, okay, I can buy that because I said, well, I had heard not just what I say, but about after the Jazz investigated the health issues that they felt that he was the most skilled player in the draft and we'll never know this, but they've told people and it's gotten back to me that there was a good chance if they had the number one pick, they still would have taken him over DeBonsa. Now, it didn't come to that, so it can never be proved, and it doesn't have to be proven. You got your guy going forward. As I look at the composition of the roster, and I was doing some TV stuff yesterday, and the thing that I was saying on there was that I thought that maybe not this season, but what I want to see, so that'd be the 27-28 season, is I would suspect, assuming the roster stays the same, which, just for argument's sake, as perimeter players anyway, that there's no reason why Peterson is not the leading assist guy on this team. What do you think of that? Because his ability to create is really good.
I had a feeling that's where you were going with that. And in my mind, I was agreeing with you ahead of time. I like Keontae George. I think he has a long future in the NBA. I think he really proved that last year. But I had similar thoughts watching Darren Peterson in Summer League. I think one of the things that was maybe missing for him at Kansas was not playing with the ball in his hand.
He said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was something that he did a lot in high school. And it's very good to be able to do both. And so eventually I hope he's just as comfortable playing off the ball as he is on it. This is not a one-to-one comparison, so don't mistake it. But I think one of the things that makes Stephen Curry so good is he's so good both on and off the ball. And I think Peterson has the potential to be pretty special in both respects. And this is my long-winded way of agreeing again. I think he does need to play on the ball more often, and I think he will in the NBA. I was impressed by his playmaking throughout Summer League. I think he's got good vision. I talked in the first question about how he's a natural scorer. I think there's some playmaking instincts there too. And these days, we talk a lot about small ball years ago, and now the league is getting bigger, and then there's positionless wings and all this stuff. I think the archetype that's been the most important through all of it is the offensive engine. And I think Peterson has the potential to be an offensive engine, regardless of where you slot him in the lineup.
Well, isn't there a lot to be said for having two ball handlers on the court, and then anybody can start it, and the guy you want to start it is the guy who is defended by the worst defender, because you have a mismatch right out of the gate, and everyone on the court just understands that, and they understand who to attack and who to attack immediately as soon as you get over half court.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I've written a lot over the years about how positional battles really aren't that big of a deal. You're just more dynamic if you have two or three playmakers and you don't know where the attack is going to come from. I think a team that's really obviously poised to do that over the next few years is the Spurs. And they did it. I think they kept the brakes on that a little bit throughout the playoffs. Like, I think Castle, Fox, and Harper can all play together. And for some reason, they were afraid to play that card. That could be another trend coming to the NBA, is you want to have 2-3 high-level playmakers, not just a point guard and multiple wings who can dribble a little bit, but 2-3 guys with real point guard skills. And Utah is already kind of on that track with George and Peterson. And you don't want to get too small, but maybe if the right situation calls for it, you play Collier with those two guys. The cool thing about the Jazz roster is I think they're kind of setting themselves up to play either small or big. I think they're going to start big in most games. That's just kind of what the roster lends itself to. But they've, over the last couple of years, given themselves a lot more lineup flexibility.
Several years back when the Jazz lost Hayward, they drafted Mitchell, and then right from the start, they gave Mitchell the ball. I think, in game 2 or 3, he was like 3 for 21, which it wasn't so much that he missed those shots. It's the fact that he took 21 shots. And, he was a second-year guy in college as opposed to a first-year, but still, they gave him the ball. Now, this team is different now because we weren't sure what to expect then, and losing Hayward we thought was a big blow, but they obviously overcame that. This team has some more proven veterans on it. What do you think of Peterson's game in terms of, I don't want to say throwing him into the fire, but not necessarily bringing him along slowly and cautiously?
I think he's probably more prepared to be thrown into the fire than Donovan Mitchell was. My recollection of that draft cycle is that he was largely hyped up as a defensive guy, and he was taken outside the top 10, right? I mean, you guys probably remember this better than I do.
It was outside the top 10.
Yeah, 13.
Right. So people were excited about him, but I don't think anybody expected right after draft night, like, this guy's going to have the ball in his hands right away. And obviously that worked out. I mean, he quickly became one of the best guards in the NBA. And I would say that part of that has to do with them putting the ball in his hands. And I think they'll be similarly aggressive with Peterson. Like you said, there are some vets that are going to need some touches. One of the nice things about the guy who's been their best player over the last few years, Lauri Markkanen, is he is one of the most fascinating players in the NBA to me, in that he gets touches, but he never wastes touches. For years, I would look up points per dribble, points per touch. He was always very, very high on that list, meaning he didn't dribble the ball a lot and he didn't hold the ball a lot relative to his shot attempts. So even though he's kind of a high volume scorer, I don't think he takes a lot of playmaking opportunities away from Peterson. I think he makes his life easier in a lot of ways. I think Triple J could be similar to that. You may have to sort through some, a little bit of a balancing test with Keontae George and Ace Bailey, but I wouldn't be surprised if within the first month or two, the hierarchy is kind of established and everybody realizes Peterson's the guy. And maybe that's a tough pill to swallow for George and Bailey. But I like the way that you compared it to Mitchell, because I do think there could be a similar runway there. And Peterson's probably more ready for it than Mitchell was.
So then the question becomes, can everybody's ego handle that? And does everybody realize this isn't a Luka Doncic situation where I assume right now, let's just assume it's not a Luka Doncic situation where you get the ball 100% of the time. The advantage, you get it most of the time, but you're always matchup hunting, and you got to learn to do that. And so instead of initiating the offense, 60% of the time, you initiated 25% of the time. I mean, he's not going to play every minute of every game. Nobody plays every game. Guys may be limited to 30 minutes instead of 35 or 36, part of load management. So there'll still be possessions for other people, but you won't have the ego of walking into the locker room thinking, I'm the man. Like, well, you're a man you're the man some of the time.
Yeah. I think the way you phrased that was perfect, because as I was laying out that last answer, I thought maybe it will be tough for Bailey and George. But really the only guy who plays that heliocentric ball anymore off the top of my head is Luka Doncic. Like nobody else gets that license, and I don't think Peterson will. And I think Will Hardy's a smart enough coach to be able to get everybody enough touches, enough shots. Hopefully within a couple months, those other guys realize, shoot, my life is easier with Darren Peterson doing this. One thing that really impressed me about Ace Bailey last year is I think there was some question about whether or not he'd be able to accept a lesser role than what he anticipated going into college. And I thought he was way better off the ball than I anticipated he would be. And he was a lot more willing to do that. So if he becomes like a high level catch and shoot guy, maybe models his game a little bit more after Lauri Markkanen, where there's not a lot of wasted motion, not a lot of wasted touches. Those two guys fit perfectly with him. Peterson and George have the we don't know where the attack is coming from dynamic that we talked about earlier. And then you kind of sort out the center minutes. I know a lot of people are worried about Jaren Jackson playing the 5 because he can get kind of bullied on the boards, but I think they're just so fast and versatile if they go Jackson and Markkanen at the 4-5. They'll probably start with Nurkic, I would assume. But again, they just have so much lineup versatility now that they didn't a couple years ago.
How big of a blow do you think it is to not have Kessler?
I think it's a real blow. I think they're pretty well set up to absorb it. I wrote a lot in the lead up to his deal with the Lakers before we knew that's where he was going to go. I just kind of assumed he was going to be on the Jazz. I assumed they would match whatever he got. Like it wouldn't be too big of a deal. And they would just have a ton of depth in the front court. But I always had this little caveat as I was writing about the Jazz that they have a lot of bigs. Like I still kind of like Kyle Filipowski. I think he can play real meaningful NBA minutes, and they have enough guys that can play 3-4 or 4-5. I think if you wanted to get real creative, you might even be able to throw Ace Bailey at the 4 for some minutes. So I think they have the depth to absorb that blow. I think it would have been nice to have Walker Kessler. He improves your depth. He improves your rim protection, your rebounding. I think he's a pretty good finisher, but they can absorb it. And at the price that LA was offering, I don't know how Utah could have said no to that deal. To get multiple unprotected first-round picks for him, I think was a coup. I think they'll survive his loss, and they're a lot better off in the long term for it, just because of LA was willing to pay like a superstar package for this guy.
Yeah, and those reports that were coming out that Kessler's people were saying, hey, we got mid to high 30s. And I mean, the Jazz just can't afford that in the long run. So it sets them up better in the long run, even if they're short-term pain. Because in the long run, the math wasn't going to work if he was legitimately going to get mid to high 30s. Now, he didn't, but maybe that's because it was a sign and trade. And maybe that he lost a little leverage there.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a consideration that every team has to make going forward. And I think we're seeing a little bit of the squeeze this offseason. Over the next 4 or 5 years, I think it's going to be a lot more rare to have multiple. I mean, Kessler wasn't in this range, but even having 2 max guys, which was kind of the norm for a long time, may not be possible anymore. I kind of like that. There's so much about the second apron that I don't like. There's so much about having what is basically a hard cap that I don't like. But I do kind of wish that talent was spread a little bit better across a roster than it has been over the last few years.
Yeah, the way it's been, such top-heavy talent, and then what do you got underneath it? That's where I thought if they did decide to keep Kessler, maybe they could have made some moves because they do have, we'll see how it is, these guys, these young guys that they drafted, they've each shown something to a good degree. And you mentioned Collier, and you also have Filipowski, sensible. Cody Williams, I'm not too sure about him yet, which, going into your third year yet, you can't keep using that word. But right. I think that salary-wise, they may have some stuff at the end of that salary scale that could help their team. And the thought for you, you've seen these guys, the ones that I just mentioned. What types of roles do you see for them? Because they may be called upon individually or collectively.
Yeah, I think everybody you just mentioned is going to play, including Cody Williams. Maybe even a bigger red flag for analysis than Summer League is the last couple of months of the regular season for a tanking team. It's just so hard to know what to take seriously from that stretch.
Right.
But Cody Williams was pretty good over the last couple of months of last season. Now, he looked really bad in Summer League a couple times.
Yes.
Just in the last few weeks. So it's really hard to know what to make of him. But I still think there's a chance he's a good 15 to 20 minute rotation wing. And if that's all he is, fine. Given what is on the rest of the roster, I actually don't think that's a bad result.
Right, I agree.
I think he was another guy that was taken around 9 or 10, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, that's not a terrible outcome. I think Collier is more ready to help right now than Williams is. I think he's a good playmaker. And I think Filipowski's a solid big man who brings some skills to the table that some of the other guys don't. So I think all the guys you mentioned are probably going to play. This is a team suddenly, it's so funny because for years they were toiling in not even mediocrity for the years after they traded Gobert and Mitchell. And this summer, even after losing Kessler, I feel relatively confident that this is going to be a good competitive team. In the West, I don't know if that means much higher than the play-in, but I think they're going to be in the mix for at least a play-in spot.
Yeah, Andy, you started to reference this earlier, and I want you to expand on it a little bit about their ability to play big and play small. You know, Jerry Sloan, and they have this long run, and it's Stockton and Malone, and you just know what's coming. And then Jerry would just go outside of the box, 97, 98, 99, right as they're really getting to their peak. He was sitting Stockton Malone, and he was playing Brian Russell and Shandon Anderson and Howard Isley, and it was just totally different, and they were running way more. And I just felt like it was a shock to a team. They were prepared for something else, and they just literally, it was like watching somebody who never drove a clutch, just grinding gears, trying to change in the middle of the game, and they go on runs with Stockton Malone sitting on the bench. It was unreal, and I just wonder, is there a role? This team has so much size, and we've been looking forward to it, but is there some weird Ace Bailey, Cody Williams, I don't know, put a couple other younger, smaller guys out there, and it just looks totally different. And they really defend and they try to run. Is there something in that, or am I trying to make up something that doesn't exist?
No, I think you're totally onto something. I think lineup versatility is a huge deal. I loved how creative Jerry Sloan was. I think one of the reasons Andre Kirilenko was so effective for the first few years of his career is Sloan was willing to use him in ways that other coaches maybe would not have been. And another thing, the Thunder, I think one of the things that made them so good over the last couple of years, especially the year they won the title, is they could shapeshift. They would start big with Holmgren and Hartenstein, and they played a certain way that way. And then they could move Holmgren to the 5 and play a little bit different way. And I think Utah has that flexibility now. I think they'll probably start with Markkanen at the 3, which is unique in its own way because he's huge for a 3. And that front line with him and Jackson and Nurkic is going to be kind of a punishing front line. But like I said earlier, I think they could probably go Markkanen at the 5 and Ace Bailey at the 4. And you fill out the lineup from there. Like Peterson would be in that lineup. Collier, George. That's super small. And you probably get beat up defensively and on the boards, but you could also run a track meet with that group. And you're not going to play at extended minutes. But if you get the right matchup, you can run for 5 or 10 minutes between the first and second quarters, and you kind of change the complexion of the game. And the other thing that's nice about flexibility, there's always been this sort of balancing test, like, do we do our thing or do we react to what the opposition is doing? But to at least have the option to react is good. Like if you're going to play a team with big bruising bigs, well, shoot, we can play more of our big bruising bigs. If you're going to play a team that's faster, we can play faster. So it's just nice to have the optionality, and I do think Utah has it, even with the loss of Kessler. I think they're very versatile and deep at several positions.
How much sleep are you losing over the anguish of trying to figure out when and where LeBron is going to make his decision and where he's going? Because, it's just keeping me on pins and needles here.
Well, I got to say none at this point. It was pretty fascinating in the early part of the offseason when I was doing a lot of stuff for Bleacher Report, reacting to a lot of different news. And I do think it's kind of mind-blowing. I think LeBron turns 42 in December, and I would say he was still a top 25 player in the league last season, and he's still like the make or break element for multiple teams' off seasons. Like I think Denver's out of the running now, but them not getting him makes their offseason very underwhelming. If the Cavaliers don't get him, their offseason is very underwhelming. If the Warriors don't get him, their offseason is bad. So it is fascinating that he still commands this much attention and he's still going to be an impact player. But I think what makes it less exciting than the previous ones, obviously, other than just age, with the natural effects of that. Whatever team he goes to, I think everybody's still going to be looking up at the Spurs and the Thunder. Those two teams look like juggernauts now and in the foreseeable future. And with apologies to the Knicks, like they could still very much be in the mix when we get to the end. I don't think LeBron is going to drastically change the title picture. And so that's changing the way people are looking at this.
I would prefer to see him go to Cleveland or to Philadelphia. I don't find Golden State and Miami nearly as compelling. Am I up in the night? Am I missing something? What do you think?
I like Cleveland. I think it's the coolest story. A lot of people are like, well, he already had his storybook ending in Cleveland, and if he goes back there and doesn't win, it ruins it. I don't think that's true. I think it's kind of fun for him to finish up at home. Miami is interesting from a pure talent and fit perspective, but the lack of shooting between him, Bam, and Giannis would be a big concern. Golden State, I actually do think is a cool story, but not a basketball threat. I just think they're too old. And the best basketball fit is Minnesota, but that seems like the most far-fetched. Like he's really going to go finish his career in Minnesota. That's just really hard to imagine, with apologies to the people of Minnesota.
They're fine people.
Yeah. One of my best friends lives in Minnesota. Yeah, I gotta clear myself there. I think Cleveland is the best. Like if you combine story and basketball fit, I would go Cleveland. And I think Cleveland would have, I wouldn't say a great shot at a title, but they'd have an outside shot.
Andy, we'll leave it right there for now. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you again. Enjoy 6 or 8 weeks of no NBA breaking news and a chance to relax and put your feet up and not be on alert, checking your phone at all times. Outside of LeBron. Yeah, you got one more thing.
Maybe he'll wait till like January or something.
Play a half season. Thanks, Andy.
All right, thanks, guys.
When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are on the way.
Ever notice how life's best stories don't happen in your living room? They happen on the open road, out on the water, or parked under the stars. At Progressive, they get that you want to focus on the experience, not worry about the what-ifs. That's why they offer quality insurance designed for your ride, whether that's a boat, RV, or motorcycle. Adventure with confidence. Visit Progressive.com and see how easy it is to protect your favorite way to get away. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in D.C. Prices vary based on how you buy.